That moment in the afternoon has arrived, and I'd like to introduce the very famous and I think it's the reason why we're all here this afternoon, Brian Halligan. Thank you. So it's got a little introduction that I thought I might read for you, if that's okay. So I first met this guy in 2012, and he was undoubtedly a key reason why we selected HubSpot as our weapon of choice in marketing automation. In my view, it's not just about the product, it's about the people and their vision, and this man's vision of what HubSpot could become. And looking back, I think you would acknowledge that it was nowhere near then the extraordinary product it is today. But that's testament to having 7 years and a small army of software developers doing your product development work. He is a graduate from MIT in Boston, now a senior lecturer in technological innovation, entrepreneurship, and strategic management at MIT Sloan, which I think is a business school.
All right, let's get on with it.
Okay, come on, all right.
Enough already.
He's a smart guy, and on the basis that you should judge a person by the company they keep, he has even smarter friends, such as his co-founder, Dharmesh Shah, also an alumni of MIT, and I think that he would agree in HubSpot terms that Dharmesh codes and Brian leads. Is that fair?
Sure.
So he's a dad, and we think he's a dad twice over because he has this marvelous fella as well as Luke, his son. I have personal experience of his generosity, and he's a clear philanthropist. Last year, donating more than $1 million to good causes. He is a lifelong deadhead. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, that is the Grateful Dead behind you. And one of the books he's written is entitled Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead, a little while ago, 2012 or before that. Linking those two threads together, he is now the proud owner of Wolf, a legendary guitar formerly owned by lead guitarist Jerry Garcia, there it is, which I'm very happy to say I have touched very, very carefully. This was a $1.9 million purchase, but delighted to say that all of that went to the Southern Poverty Law Center charity, which is just fantastic. He's very used to talking to much larger audiences than this, and there's a shot from Inbound and roughly 30,000 people. But I'm very privileged to get the opportunity to talk to him with a small group such as this, and I'm sure you'll have some questions to put forward in the time that we've got available. But if I can once again welcome Brian Halligan, the HubSpot man.
Thank you, sir.
So, Brian, we've got a bunch of questions that we lined up to ask you, and I think it probably makes logical sense to talk about product first.
Okay.
Is anything that you would like to highlight in terms of the way forward, the roadmap for HubSpot?
Sure. Raise your hand if you're a HubSpot user in the room. Okay, got lots of users.
Good to see.
The good news is lots coming. We're very busy. I guess there's a lot to talk about. I'll start with the way I think about HubSpot and what we're working on today. We're kind of working on trying to make the front end more consumer grade, like a real consumer grade application, and the back end more enterprise grade. So on the front end, there's just a tremendous amount of work going into trying to make HubSpot fast. Parts of HubSpot are too slow. We want them to get fast. I went through a presentation the other day, and the load time for the CRM screen they brought from 3.6 seconds on average to load to 2.2 seconds. And if you add up the number of loads, it's like a bajillion hours of time across all of our users. So stuff like that, trying to shave time off of everything and make it fast. The other thing we're looking at is where in the product is the usability rough. So we look at the product and we say, where are the bugs in the product? And we have bugs and we file them in a system called Jira. We now have usability JIRAs as you're moving from one application to another, as you're using reporting in one application, another application, as you're editing a landing page and editing email. What are those jagged edges across the product that we actually are calling bugs? So we have a major UX team we've developed and built inside of the company. For each product team, there's a UX person that just works on that stuff. So we're attacking usability writ large. So the front end, we want to make it feel like a very fast, very usable, don't need training, don't need to call support, easy to use application. The back end, we're trying to make enterprise grade. Now, what do I mean by that? There's a couple things I mean by that. First, we have APIs that we use internally to write software on top of. More and more of those API endpoints we're exposing to our customers and our partners like Mpol, so they can build to those APIs and extend HubSpot and connect it to other systems. Those API endpoints are getting far broader, they're getting much deeper, the support is getting much better, and so HubSpot is opening itself up quite a bit, which I'm excited about. Today, HubSpot's got a set of objects that you can leverage inside of it, tickets and deals and customers and products now. We want to build eventually the ability for you to create your own custom objects internally and do kind of whatever you want and really extend the value and power of HubSpot. Reporting. Today, our reporting, I would give us a B- on reporting. Like, it's okay. People know the data is inside of HubSpot. They want that data exposed, and they want to be able to slice it and dice it in very easy ways. We need to be able to enable people to do that. And so those are some of the projects sort of on the back end to make HubSpot what I think of as much more enterprise grade. We want to grab customers when they're 5 employees and grow with them to their 5,000 employees. And our bigger customers are asking for that kind of stuff. So those are some of the big buckets.
Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
With regard to the, what would you say is the most underused part of the product? Something that maybe people are underplaying.
Yeah, I think the content management system of HubSpot. We've actually been working on the content management system since we started HubSpot back in 2006. And people always compare it to WordPress. And frankly, WordPress, there's this giant community out there, and you can do a lot with it. Just over the last 4 or 5 months, I'm seeing people do things with our CMS that I've never seen them do, build unbelievable sites with unbelievable power. I'm seeing the development environment really mature there. So now, without cringing, I think I can say, you know, if you're already using HubSpot for marketing sales, you should build your site. You should even build your e-commerce. Build the whole darn thing on HubSpot. I think our CMS is really underrated, and it's just been like a kind of a slow grind over the years, and it's really just, I think, gotten a lot better over the last 6 months. That team, we got 80 developers working on our CMS, so it's a good-sized team. And I think WordPress is a great product, and you can integrate it nicely with HubSpot, but it's client-server software. It's pretty old technology, and there's a lot you can do with HubSpot now. So that's what I think is most underrated.
I'd certainly agree with it's
You
the
would.
largest growing part of our side of things. We've been chatting about the flywheel today.
Yep.
And no conversation with you would be complete without at least a brief chat about the flywheel.
Sure.
How has that changed things for HubSpot?
Sure, I think it's changed a lot. So if I wind the clock back a little bit, when we started HubSpot, we started HubSpot actually 13 years ago yesterday.
Happy birthday.
And it was based on a very simple idea. And the idea behind HubSpot originally was humans had changed. They had changed the way they shopped and purchased things. They had gotten very good at blocking out ads and blocking out cold calls and blocking out emails and TV ads and everything. And increasingly, they were spending time online. Instead of reading newspapers, they were reading blogs. Instead of listening to the radio, they were listening to podcasts. Instead of watching TV, they were in YouTube. And so the basic idea with HubSpot was there was an arbitrage opportunity for marketers to match the way they go to market with the way modern humans actually buy stuff. So we enabled people to create content online, get found in Google, get found in social, that sort of thing. And it turns out we were onto something back then. And we called it inbound, and we contrasted it with outbound, and we built a platform to help you do that. And really, for the first 10 years of HubSpot, we were in that business of helping people take advantage of sort of that opening that the internet provided people, and it's worked out great. That opening is still there, and I'll confess to you all, it's a small crowd that I would hope you don't tweet this. That opening's closed a little bit, that the internet itself is more pay-to-play than it's ever been. It used to be when you searched in Google, 2006 you weren't searching on your mobile phone, you search in Google, there were a few little tiny subtle ads on the right-hand side of Google. Now when you search in Google on your mobile phone, the whole damn page is ads. You have to scroll down to get by the ads. And Facebook's become pay-to-play, and Twitter, and everything's kind of become pay-to-play. So there's room still there. Content marketing, inbound marketing still is very effective and has tremendous amount of leverage. I think there's a new arbitrage opportunity on the internet that's just come sort of alive over the last couple of years. And how can I even describe it? I guess I'll describe it with I've done this before with my like daily routine. So most mornings, not today, but most mornings I wake up in my apartment in Boston. And I wake up on a Casper mattress, which is a new type. You know what Casper mattress? You have those here? Okay. And then after I wake up, I take, these are my Warby Parker. You have Warby Parker glasses here?
Yeah.
Just about.
One person. It's a subscription service, basically. Because it's a new type of internet model. And then I take out my phone, and I press Spot. Do you have Spotify here?
Yeah.
You have Spotify. And I listen to.
We're not that backward.
And I listen to the Grateful Dead, and I dance around the Grateful Dead with my dog, and all excited in the morning, trying to get fired up. And then I go in the bathroom and I shave, not with my Gillette razor, but with my Dollar Shave Club razor. It's a subscription to razors. And then I go to get changed, and I don't have to think about getting changed because I have my new Stitch Fix outfit. Do you have Stitch Fix?
No.
No, you're missing Stitch Fix. Don't I look great?
Well, you do. We've got to get
Fix. That. Stitch Fix is, you go online, and it's a subscription service for clothes, and then I finish all that, and I take my Uber to work. And I just think about my morning routine, and you may think it's boring. I know you do. I think it's very exciting. Here's what's exciting. Those 6 companies I referred to that I use every day of my life, startups, little tiny companies, less than 10 years old, growing like a weed. Unbelievable growth. They've completely displaced the incumbents in my house. I don't use a Sealy mattress anymore. I don't wear old school glasses anymore. I don't use Gillette. I don't go to the Gap anymore. I don't take a cab anymore. I use these new companies. Now, what's going on? Why did I switch? How did these companies infiltrate our lives? How did they turn their industries on their head? Well, I'll tell you what I think. None of them really innovated on the product at all. Same damn music, same damn mattress, same damn razor, same damn clothes. It wasn't a technology disruption. The internet used to be all about technology disruption. I think of them as experience disruptors. What they did, they weren't the first to market with their product. They were first to market with one of these just delicious end-to-end experiences. And what do those experiences have in common? This is going to be depressing, but one of the things they have in common is no human touch. They got the humans, us inefficient human beings, out of that process. 2, almost all of them are subscription-based models. 3, they're all just very light and airy and mostly powered by word of mouth. And I think of these businesses, I describe them as experience disruptors. And I think this is the future for all of us today, whether in B2C, selling a mattress, or B2B, selling a piece of software or machine tool or something like that. It's nailing that end-to-end experience. That is the new arbitrage opportunity on the internet, is nailing that and getting really good at that end-to-end experience. This is why HubSpot has moved from being a marketing tool to help you generate leads to, gosh, we have a marketing, sales, service. We have this whole darn thing, and we want to help because we want to help people become experience disruptors and create these new experiences for their customers. So this is the path we've been on for the last few years. The path's going relatively well. Pretty pleased with that path, and I can't remember the question you asked me. I don't even know where I got started on all that.
That was great. It was
You can't either.
it was immersive.
You can't either. You with me though?
Yeah.
Like that company, Away Suitcase. What the hell, Away Suitcases? All of a sudden, everyone's got an Away Suitcase. They nailed that online experience. They nailed the word of mouth. Even in B2B, like, I don't know anyone who uses WebEx anymore. Everyone, or uses GoToMeeting anymore. Everyone uses Zoom. I don't know anyone uses email anymore. They all moved to Slack. The world is just shifting, and they're shifting not because that product's necessarily better. They're shifting because that experience is better. The end-to-end experience is better. It used to be in business school. I had a great professor who used to say, Brian, if you want to win in the market today, your product has got to be 10 times better than the competition. I just don't think that's possible anymore, quite frankly. The reality of it is the barrier to entry to build any new product in any new industry is infinitesimally small. Like if I started HubSpot today, it doesn't really take any money to start a new company. You can work from home, for crying out loud. We use open source software, we use AWS. You're up and running and cranking in no time. So if you get a feature advantage against someone, it's very hard to sustain that feature advantage because people are building products so quickly. Let's say you're building a piece of hardware, some sort of widget. My God, you go to China and the supply chains are incredibly fast, rapid prototyping, open source, free CAD software. Everything has changed. So gaining an unfair advantage on the product side, being first to market on the product side, it's no longer the way to win. The way to win today is being the first to create one of these disruptive experiences and nailing that customer experience, because you're never going to get sustainable advantage if you just rely on the product. And it also turns out the first one to do it kind of dominates. Like, who's number 2 to Amazon? I don't even know. Who's number 2 to Away? I don't know. Who's number 2 to Zoom? I don't know. Who's number 2 to Slack? I don't know. Who's number 2 to Warby Parker, to Casper, to Dollar Shave Club, to even Uber's like 5,000 miles ahead of Lyft. Like there's the unbelievable advantage to being first. And so now is a terrific time, I think, to be an entrepreneur, to be a marketer, to a salesperson, because this is where the actions move. The actions move. The entrepreneurs today, used to be the entrepreneur was the product person who's going to make that widget that's a little bit better than everybody else's widget. The entrepreneur of tomorrow, of really today, is the go-to-market person who's going to reimagine that go-to-market environment, reimagine the business model, and really create competitive advantage that way.
That was very comprehensive.
Thank you.
And I'm sure when we rerun it, we'll check out what the question was. I just wanted to talk a little about the idea of HubSpot as a platform.
Sure.
And more about something around, because integrations are very important for you, I think.
Yeah, I love the MPOL presentation. MPOL does great work for us. Cool. There's another trend I see. I don't think it's as big and as important a trend as the one I just talked about. But the other trend I see is if I walked into your company, and let's say your company has 100 employees, and I walked in there 7 years ago, you had 15 different applications you were running inside the business. Handful. Your IT guy approved all those applications, and everything worked. Today, if I walk into your company, you got 100 employees, you've got 400 applications running. End users are buying them, IT's on their heels. And for the longest time, HubSpot looked at all those applications as the competition. We looked at Google Analytics as the competition. We looked at WordPress as the competition. We looked at everybody as the competition. If you weren't using HubSpot, you were dead to me. It was like pushing a rock up a hill, though. Like gravity was just weighing down on us, and people are like, we're not going to stop using Google Analytics. We love it, and HubSpot doesn't do all the cool stuff Google Analytics does, and you probably never will. And finally, we were like, you're right. And instead of being closed and very like old school, we say we're going to be open, and we're going to embrace all these other applications. We're going to use people like MPOL and let these people build integrations to us, and let 1,000 flowers bloom. And so instead of just saying, hey, you're going to use our 4 applications and nothing else, we're seeing companies now with maybe they've got HubSpot for marketing, they've got HubSpot for sales, but maybe they like Intercom or Zendesk for support. And then they've got 17 other applications, and they're weaving them all together to create that delicious experience. So that's another shift we're going through. That shift's going really well, too. The average customer today that's managed through a partner has 7 different applications plugged into their HubSpot portal. I think it's pretty cool.
Any bits of the product that we should talk about? Anything else that's on your chat list? This is Brian's 3rd gig today, so he's... still feeling good. Well,
it's an honor to be here.
Thank you for coming.
I would say the conversational part of HubSpot's gotten pretty legit. We put we're putting chat on pretty much every page on our site these days. Humans are inherently lazy. They don't want to click around your site and figure your nav out. They just want to go and ask. And so the conversion rates are really, really good on those. People just expect it now on your site. You can build a pretty sophisticated bot now on HubSpot as well. This is a very odd thing, but when we put a bot on a page versus a human on the page, this blows my mind. Humans would rather talk to a bot than a human, like by a lot. And so we lead with the bot and we bring the human in later. And the conversion rates are very, very, very high on that. And I just think that's the way the world works. And then video, I think, is huge. Like, all your sales reps should not be cold calling ever again. I think it's just a waste of time. Even cold email. If you want a cold email, do your research and send like a killer video from within HubSpot that works. And then when given a choice, and we've A/B tested this of most humans, 80% of humans would prefer video over text. And so we're leaning hard towards video, and gosh, it converts really well. I would say some very underrated things. I'm kind of rambling, but some underrated things are going on. Search engine optimization still works insanely well. If you create remarkable, great content and you get links into it, I think of assets. Like HubSpot as the CEO, I have assets on my financial assets, my balance sheet. I have cash, I have inventory, I have all kinds of assets. As a marketer, let's say, you've got assets too. You have links into your website, you get social media followers, you get pages on your site, all that stuff. The strategy used to be, the strategy that worked marvelously well when we first met, would just write any old crap about your company and product on your blog, and you'd get found. The internet get clogged with that crap, and it doesn't work anymore. Google's very smart, and Google gets smarter every day. What does work is really high-quality content, and that high-quality content can come through different ways. Blogs still work really well, but if your blog before was, I'm going to spend a half hour a day for 7 weeks and create 7 blog articles a week, now it should be, I'm going to spend 3.5 hours on that one blog article and make it perfect, make it awesome. And then people will link to it and it'll spread in social and it'll really work. If I were a marketer today, I would create a channel on YouTube and just, I don't know what your product is, but think whatever your product is, get up on the whiteboard and start talking about your product, or have a PowerPoint and do a weekly video cast on YouTube. And then I would think about a podcast. Podcasts aren't going anywhere. People love their podcasts, and podcasts are doing very well in general categories like business and technology. But let's say you're selling left-handed monkey wrenches. There's no left-handed monkey wrench podcasts out there. You need your own left-handed monkey wrench podcast. So I would just think about quality over quantity. I would think about video and audio almost over text these days. And it's easy to do it. Like, you kind of think, oh man, podcast, that sounds hard. It's not hard to do. Same with the video. Like, it doesn't cost money. It's about time. I would think about it a little bit like that.
So that's just working on that particular thought process of getting advice from you for everyone out here. And a key thing, I think, for a lot of people is if you're building out your marketing team in 2019, where would you focus your effort?
I see.
Where would you go with your next hire?
Yep. I'll just tell you how we do it. I'm not sure we do it right. We started with generalists. Somebody can do a little bit of everything. Not very good at anything in particular, but good at doing a little bit of everything. And then we split it, and we said we want somebody that's going to be turn strangers into visitors, the people who are very good at creating content, video, podcasts, very good at SEO, all that kind of stuff. So we have somebody at HubSpot named Kieran Flanagan who owns that world for us, all the SEO, all the blogging, all the content creation. And he's got a whole bunch of people that just create remarkable content. And then we have another person on our team, John Dick, and John owns effectively the database. So we have 10 million unique contacts, or maybe 15 million unique contacts in our database. Our HubSpot bill is large. I hate the contact pricing. And he owns that database, and he owns all the workflows and the database management and all that stuff. Increasingly now, we've got a new person that owns customer marketing. And so we've got all these new products coming out. We want our customers evangelizing for us. We want to spin our flywheel with our happy customers. So we have a person just working on that type of a thing. And one of them is in the room, Juliana back there. And she runs these hug programs. So that's part of that. And then we have kind of a creative person that works on branding and what the hell are we going to say on the inbound stage every year, and how do we package it together and make a coherent story out of it. And so that's how we kind of break it up, is how I would think about it. So I would break it into pieces. I would think of the flywheel as, this part of the flywheel is how do I turn strangers into visitors. This part of the flywheel is visitors into leads, customer leads into customers, customers to delighted customers. I'd kind of break it up like that is the way I would think about it. But certainly on that content team, a couple years ago I would have said hire a great writer. I think now I would maybe say I hire a great video person. And video is just everywhere. Video is Instagram videos, video is Facebook videos, videos on your pages, it's sales rep videos. Video is what I would say.
So I guess that's where we should be spending our marketing dollars in looking for people and skills around.
I think video is important. I don't actually think you need to go and hire somebody who's spent 15 years doing it. You can almost figure it out. One of the things we've had a tremendous amount of success doing at HubSpot is hiring interns out of school between their junior and senior year and saying, hey, go do X, Y, and Z, and let a bunch of them do it and see who's really good and who can learn the fastest. That's really worked for us. And many of the people in our marketing department came through that type of a program.
They say hire graduates while they still know everything. So whatever happens, though, content continues to be a key aspect of what we do and what you do. Do you have any tips there? Any suggestions on how we might change our thinking or develop our thinking?
Yeah, I think content does double duty. Content is a magnet that pulls people into your company if it's good stuff. And then it sits there and people discover it on their own when they're on your site. And so as they're going through the journey of trying to decide your product, they're using and reading that content and consuming it. So I think content really works in two ways, as a tool to pull people in and really as a tool to convince people. So marketing is content. And here, I guess I would frame it like this too, sort of, you could spend your money on advertising, and advertising can work, of course. The way we look at that is, yes, we can rent space on Google, we can rent space on Facebook, we can rent space on Reddit, whatever site it would be, and we pay per the click or the user or whatever. What we want to do, though, is build our own Facebook, our own Google, or our own whatever. We want to create our own asset that we own, and we want to rent space to ourselves. So that's why we create our blog. We get probably 10 million visitors a month from Google. You know, maybe half are organic, half are branded, half unbranded. The reason we get so much traffic from Google is we've just been creating content for a decade, and the quality's been improving, and it just works. It works incredibly well. And it's hard to beat. You know, there's some things we do at HubSpot that we're really good at, and some things we're mediocre at. We're good at things that have a long fuse and create a barrier around us. So we're good at SEO. Let's just say you're a company, you want to compete with us on the term marketing automation tomorrow in Google. Good luck. You know, we have a bajillion articles about marketing automation. We have links in from everywhere in marketing automation. That's a moat around our business it's hard to compete with. We're very good at partner channels. And so we've got a partner channel, MPOL and Bob's organization are both partners. This is another kind of moat around HubSpot that's kind of hard to beat. Let's just say you want to start a company and steal Bob as an agency partner. You might be able to steal Bob. But Bob's sort of woven his business around us. You can see a sign here, and we're woven around him. Ironically, Juliana, who works for HubSpot, is probably more likely to abandon HubSpot than Bob. Because Juliana can go and find another job with whoever. Bob's kind of stuck with me. So that's a thing that's kind of a moat around HubSpot that's hard to create. We're starting to get very good at freemium. And so we made our CRM software a freemium version, and we're trying to get that to be a consumer-like experience and that will spread virally. I suspect a year from now, that will be a moat that's very hard to compete with. And let's just say you're Salesforce.com, terrific company. Boy, it's going to be hard to turn that big, massive CRM product they have into a freemium software. So we work on things that are hard to replicate. Marketing automation, that's pretty easy to replicate, actually. Like you can be world-class at it, but the difference between world-class and somebody who's a little off of world-class isn't that big, and it's not that sustainable. The good thing about marketing automation is, let's say you suck at it right now. Within 4 or 5 months, you can get really, really good at it, right? Whereas SEO, it's years. Building a partner channel, it's years. So different things have different timelines on them.
Great. I hadn't thought about the fact that I was stuck with you. But
Kind of are. I'm happy to be stuck with you for what it's worth.
Likewise. I want to talk about mistakes. What do you see as the mistakes that your customers make? Are there classical things that people should avoid in their inbound engagement process?
Yes. I think people think of inbound incorrectly as a campaign. Like, I'm going to run an inbound campaign. It doesn't really work that way. It's more like you don't go to the gym like, oh, I'm quickly going to get in shape and then I'm going to get out of shape. It's like you suck it up and go to the gym and you get in shape and you eat right. That's inbound. You need to get in a habit. You need to create the content. You need to get good at social. You need to get good at this new way of marketing that matches the way people buy. A campaign can be, hey, we've got a campaign of our new widget that we're putting in the market, and we're going to do a bunch of advertising around it, create a bunch of blog articles about it, of course, do some social media marketing around it, do a press release. That's a campaign. But inbound itself carries through everything. It's not sort of a campaign. It's not a short-term thing. It's sort of a way of life. I think that's a mistake people think about with inbound.
It's kind of all in.
Yeah, I think buying lists is a mistake. You really can't do it anymore, GDPR. I think cold calling is a tremendous mistake. It used to be when I started my career, you cold call somebody, I cold call you, you have a phone on your desk. You actually picked the phone up back then. You didn't have caller ID, you didn't know it was me calling. Like, it worked like a charm. You not only have caller ID, you had a phone with caller. Now you don't even have a damn phone on your desk probably. Like, caller ID is a waste of time, and it's so bad for your brand. Like, people cold calling you, like, really? I have this guy from Oracle who cold calls me once a week. Like, dude, really? Just give up on it, for crying out loud. We're not buying Oracle. Like, really? Of all people.
Is he trying to sell you the company or the software?
No, the software. I think cold calling is just, God, it's dead. Mistakes. Let me just tell you about mistakes in HubSpot. We have made them all. Like, I think we've got the world record on mistakes. And we hire a lot of, frankly, junior people, like Juliana in the back and myself, who haven't seen much of a movie before, and we're kind of inventing the movie as we go. And so we hit a lot of potholes in HubSpot. And I think our culture is one that we don't mind making mistakes. We don't mind hitting potholes. What we really, really mind is making that same mistake twice. And so we're very good at making them once, and we're very good at avoiding them the second time. And so I'm very tolerant of first-time mistakes, extremely intolerant of second-time mistakes. But you name the mistake, and we have made it. Even now, like, you look inside the bowels of HubSpot right now, I know of a couple of whopper mistakes we've made over the first 5 months of HubSpot that we're winding our way out of the mistakes. They're very active projects to wind our way out. At any given time, there's a whole bunch of problems. It's never, like, we're 3,000 people now. It's never all just running smoothly. There's always something, at least a couple of pieces of it that are just broken and off the rails. It's like, how do you get them back and recover as quickly as possible?
You're a very global organization now, and in our small way, we try to be at B2B Marketing Lab. We try to follow you around and be a little bit global. There are a lot of organisations here that are extremely global and successful. Do you have any advice, any thoughts on managing global teams from a C-level perspective?
I'll tell you, give us a little bit of advice. So the first country we went into was Ireland, not Dublin. And I remember I remember setting it up. Not all of our offices have gone perfectly. That one went, I would give us an A+ on that. We sent a team of folks over, and we gave them a couple of assignments. We said, go over to Ireland and replicate, but not exactly replicate, our company culture. Get our flywheel going over there. Start signing customers up and delighting them. Get our own flywheel cranking over there. And then within 2 years, find replacements for all of yourselves. And so there are 9 of them went over. All 9 are out now. They've found locals to replace them. So you want to see upward trajectory. You want to be able to attract real talent. So that little playbook worked exceptionally well for us. That those are the 3 things you need to do. And that worked, and we kind of replicated that in different offices all over the world. We've done some big initiatives around. There's no point in opening a Japanese office unless you've got a completely Japanese version of virtually everything you do. And when I say that, I mean not just the software, but all the service around it, the documentation, everything has to be in Japanese, or you're just wasting your time. And so we've taken that approach with 5 languages where the whole end-to-end experience is localized. And I think that's important. It was key to us, and we're looking at more languages now. The last thing we did that should help you with that is historically the way we set HubSpot up did not encourage you to have multiple languages and multiple divisions in HubSpot. In fact, we kind of set it up in a monolithic way such that you had to buy HubSpot again for your German subsidiary, and again for your French subsidiary, and again for your South African subsidiary. But we've made some changes to HubSpot to allow you to have different versions of HubSpot within that HubSpot and start to manage that data and the permissioning and the languages around that in a much more sophisticated way. So it's not only cheaper to spread, but it's much more functional and usable.
Okay. Along the way, you've moved from being a private company to being a public company. October 2016, am I right? That sounds about right to me. I just wondered whether you had anything you could share on the change in your lifestyle as a result of being chief executive of a publicly quoted company.
Not much has changed.
Nope.
We went from one set of quirky private investors and we switched them out to another set of quirky public investors. Neither were particularly well aligned with us, and it's worked out well. I don't find it bad. I enjoy it. I enjoy the public investors. I find them much more reasonable and rational than they get credit for. Yes, they're quarterly orientated, but if you can paint a picture for them over the long haul and meet your numbers, they'll be supportive. I like getting relationships with them. I think it's been great. We did something that no one had ever done when we went public that helped us get through it. Most companies, when they go public, they name 5 officers as named officers. Mm-hmm. And those 5 named officers can see any information they want at any given time, but can only sell their shares in certain windows. So they can't trade on that information they've got to an unfair advantage relative to any of you.
Yeah.
We made every HubSpotter an officer. So we have 3,000 officers in the company. And so all of our employees get all of the same information that I get and all the same information when they're private, but all the HubSpotters can only sell within certain windows. Okay. That has worked well for us, not having to think about what we can share with the employees and what we can't share, being very transparent with them. It still feels like a very fast-moving private company. That was the one thing that made it a little more palatable. Yeah. Okay. It's being public is great. You can track yourself. You can track how you're doing. It doesn't sort of track how HubSpot's doing. Like, it goes up and down a lot. And how you're feeling in that given day. You may say, oh gosh, we had a terrible day, we lost such and such a deal or customer or whatever, and the stock can go up 4%. Like it doesn't track it that closely. So it's odd to look at it every day.
Yes.
I like to look at it once a week. And it's a function of two things. It's a function of your success as a business in painting a picture to the street and the investors in delivering on those results. And it's a function of what the rest of your peer group is doing. And so right now we trade at something like 10 times revenue, which is a very high multiple. But Salesforce.com is probably 8 times, and Shopify is probably 14 times. And so the multiples in our industry are very high. And so it's something I try not to obsess over because it's a little disconnected from reality. But overall, I've enjoyed it very much. Yeah. And a lot of people I tell you what, the hardest part about HubSpot was the early days of the company when we had to raise venture capital rounds. No one wanted to invest, nobody. The hardest days of HubSpot were our Series B, Series D, Series E rounds of financing. We just could not convince people to invest at any kind of a reasonable valuation. The people did invest, they took a risk with us, and we really appreciated that risk. And holy shit, they've made a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Sure.
Same with the employees. I don't know about Juliana, but employees would join HubSpot and they go to their mother and say, I'm going to work for HubSpot. And they say, oh, HubSpot? No, HubSpot. Oh, Hubway, the subway company? No, HubSpot. And now we're still small, but they've certainly heard of us now. So it's about making people who bet on you look smart. And I like that part. I like that part a lot.
And the bit that you're not that keen on me talking about is you. And you winced a bit in my introduction, I saw. You got voted, but I'm going to plow on anyway.
Okay.
You got voted one of the top 2 CEOs globally in 2017. And being a CEO takes its toll on the day-to-day of life and how you behave yourself. Got any tips for us on running the business from a leadership perspective?
Sure. I have some work hacks that have played it very well for me. You probably can't tell, but I'm actually quite introverted. After this, I'll be quite tired, actually. I've had 3 presentations today, met a lot of people. And like a lot of introverts, it's like my battery is really low right now. And the way I work around that at HubSpot is every Wednesday, I work from home. And I have no meetings, no nothing. And that's my day to think, work on projects, not be in react mode, and really crank through stuff. So that gives me kind of a double win. It helps me work on the business rather than in the business. I think you want to try to work as much as you can on the business as it gets bigger. And helps me get away from people a little bit. The other hack I have, and this is probably not going to be popular, but once a month I publish on our wiki my top 7 or 8 priorities, and I think a lot about what the priorities are before I put them on there. And they're the same ones as in my to-do list, and I'll publish them on there. And I'm pretty religious about working on my priorities and staying focused on my priorities. So if somebody asks me to do something that's not on that list, I'm Dr. No on a lot of stuff. I'm not hesitant to say no. Right. I got 3,000 employees who want me to do 3,000 things a week, and I just have to say no, unless it's on my list. You can lobby me to be on the list next month, but I'm going to work on my stuff. If you think of the way also modern communications work, particularly Slack, but also email. Slack and email is a way for all you guys to get all your to-do list items into my to-do list. And every time I walk into a meeting, I have a meeting with you, you've got your to-do list, I've got my to-do list walking me. I want my to-do list to get shorter and yours to get longer. And so I shut Slack off. Right. I just couldn't do it. Right. It's too much. If you really need to reach me, text me or email me. And it was too much. I couldn't handle all the stuff, and it was too much of people putting their to-dos on me. And I make my to-do list, and I think it's the important stuff the company needs to work on. And if I don't get to that stuff and I do all the other more tactical stuff, I think the company will suffer. So I'm a little bit militant about my to-do list. That's helped a lot.
I shall take your militancy on board. I'm sure my lot will be very pleased about that. So you've touched on people within your business and young people growing up through the business. How do you encourage your employees to stay with you? How do you have active programs to encourage long-term engagement within the business?
Sure. We think a lot about culture. I'll tell you my culture story. I've told this before, but I joined a CEO group. There were 10 CEOs of high-growth companies in Boston that got together once a month, or once a quarter. And I largely joined the CEO group because there was a guy on there named Colin Engel. Does anyone know who Colin Engel is? Colin makes the Roomba vacuum cleaner, the robot vacuum cleaner. It's a very successful company, and they were way ahead of us, and they were down the street. And I kind of describe, I have an unusual relationship with Colin Engel. It's a two-word relationship. It's a man crush. And so I remember the first meeting, I sat right next to Colin, and the topic of the day was culture. And this is probably 3 years into HubSpot, and I thought, God, that's a stupid topic. Who the hell wants to talk about culture? What a waste of a day. At least I get to sit next to Colin. And so they were really getting into culture, and I was half paying attention. And at the coffee break, Colin took me aside, and he said, I heard about you, Brian, and I heard you want to build a really big company. I said, well, yeah, like you. And he said, you're never going to do it unless you get this culture thing ironed out. Culture is how people make decisions when you're not in the room. Culture is how you really scale a company. Okay. Sat down, paid attention the rest of the day, and I saw Dharmesh, my co-founder, the next day, and I booked a meeting with him, and I said, we need to talk about culture. He said, culture is a bunch of BS. I don't want a meeting about culture. I said, culture is important. Culture is how people make decisions when you're not in the room. Culture is how you scale. And so he ran with it, and gosh, did he run with it. And he created something that we call our culture code. And our culture code is a PowerPoint deck that describes our culture, describes kind of the relationship between the employees and the company in a lot of detail. And we have a quirky culture. And I would say the way we think about our customers a little bit is we need to build a unique product relative to our competition that delivers a lot of value that will pull a customer in and retain us. The way we think about culture is the same thing. It's a different set of competitors. It's the local companies we compete with, but we want to create a unique culture that adds a lot of value and that will pull our employees in and hopefully retain them. And so we spend a tremendous amount of energy building this culture document. And the culture document has worked. There's been like 4 million views of it on SlideShare. Like it's spread virally online. And most of the new employees read it before they join. And people talk about it a lot. And we outline, what it's like to be a HubSpotter and what's good about it and what's bad about it. HubSpot's not for everyone. It's a quirky place to work. And unless you want to really lean into the future, it can be a very uncomfortable place to work in a lot of ways. And we've had our ups and downs with that. But culture turns out to be really, really key. It's like a great culture is like a magnet that pulls in talented people and keeps them, just like a great product's like a magnet that pulls in great customers and keeps them. It's a very similar idea. Now, the reality of Boston and the reality of London is the supply and demand imbalance of talent Boston is 0%. If you are in tech, there's 0% unemployment. If you can't find a job in tech today, you're probably my brother. He's the only one that I've met that can't find a job. Other than that, everyone is employed. And so the supply and demand is way out of whack. And so unless you're paying really careful attention to your employee value prop, you're going to get smoked. So we compete in Boston with lots and lots of little startups. Increasingly, we compete with Amazon and Google and Facebook for most of our developers. So we're hiring, we're really competing against it. But then we think, you want to work for Amazon, Google, or Facebook? Those are huge monolithic organizations. How do we mold our culture and our value prop to really enable people to come work at HubSpot? And so our retention rates are good. Here's the strange thing that surprised me is our retention rates before the IPO were X. Now they're about 0.7X. They've improved after the IPO, which surprised me. I thought people would say, oh, it's been a good ride, cash out and move on. But the retention's been really good. We invest a lot in employees. Some people think we invest too much in employees, so our culture budget is ginormous. I'll give you an example of that. Like, one of the things we like to hire are people who are learners, really like to learn new things and lean into the future. And so we've got a very aggressive match. If you want to go back to school or take a course, we'll match up to $7,000 a year. It's a big match that a lot of people take us up on. We do a lot in our culture to try to improve our diversity. So one of the mistakes we didn't talk about, one of the biggest mistakes we made in HubSpot is 49 of our first 50 employees were white. And so you're a black woman coming to an interview with HubSpot, it's just no way. You just look at your interview slate, you're just not going to come to HubSpot. And that's just bad for a million different reasons. But it's bad for business. It's bad for humanity. It's bad for business. So we have worked our tails off to make ourselves an incredibly attractive place for all shapes, sizes, colors, everything. And that has paid off in a big way. I'll give you a stat that I really am proud of. 2 years ago, 49% of our employees were women. Only 20% of our managers were women. You got that? Now it's 49 and 49. I love that stuff. Nice. And we did a couple clever things to fix that, by the way. One was we implemented something we call a Rooney Rule. And the Rooney Rule is a rule they used in the National Football League. You've heard of the National Football League? All the players are black, all the coaches are white. That's what the league basically said. And so the league said, you may not hire a new coach unless you have at least one candidate of color that you're going to interview. And largely it's worked. The league has really improved on that. And so we did the same thing. If you got a VP opening, your slate's going to have women, it's going to have people of color, and it really open things up. That Rooney Rule we've applied across the company has really helped open our eyes and really reach out and grab talent that we normally wouldn't have seen. That's helped a ton.
Impressive. Time is zooming along.
Okay.
And I'm very happy. I could sit here and chat for
no problem.
quite some time. But
my arm's starting to hurt.
Well, then
Should we talk about the arm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a negotiating report.
The problem is I got in a bar fight 2 nights ago in London, and it was about Brexit. It was a Brexit bar fight, and it didn't end well for me. You don't buy that?
No. No deal Brexit. So I got a couple of questions.
By the way, it's like Trump is following me around.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds I come to London and Trump's here doing a fist pump with the Queen?
He was just warming up the audiences for you last week.
Yes.
So I do have a couple more questions. Are there many questions out there? Can you give me an indication who'd like to ask Brian a question?
I got you.
Okay, so there's a few. That's good. Let me just. There's one here that I really wanted to ask, and that is, so Rod Stewart. I'm a Rod Stewart fan. Rod Stewart wrote a great song, which was, "I wish that I knew all I know now when I was younger."
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you that. What do you wish that you had known when you were younger that you found out now?
I wish I learned how to be a proper software developer.
Oh, right.
Yeah, every industry is being eaten by software. I think if you're young today, 20 years from now, your profession is either going to be telling computers what to do, or computers are going to be telling you what to do. I'd much rather be telling a computer what to do than being told what to do by a computer. So I would lean in hard. I can write software poorly. I didn't spend enough time and energy on that. And now I'm like, I don't have to worry about all this automation stuff and robots because I'm old. But I think all that stuff, whether you like it or not, I think is real. And I think the ability to write software, even writing SQL queries, things like that, every industry needs software developers.
And do you have any advice for junior members of these guys' companies?
Yeah, learn to write software.
Yeah. So there was a hand in here, I think.
Oh, a bunch of them came up.
Couple of hands up. They've all gone down now.
Hello, my name's Carson, and I'm huge fan of HubSpot.
Thank you, Carlson.
However, how do I convince the board that we should replace all our existing CRMs, software, etc., and move over to HubSpot? Because that's been a very difficult conversation in the past, and I've just moved to a new company, and I'm going to have that conversation all over again. And if you have some advice,
I would bring Bob Dearsley in to convince them. He's one of the most convincing mofos I know. I kid you not, I would. What are you using?
So we're using a platform called Gold Vision.
Sounds like it's time for an upgrade either way.
Yeah. We should definitely talk.
Here's what I would say also about CRM systems. What I'm noticing is happening in the market. Like myself, I use an iPad and I use a Mac, and I was buying a new phone. I'm not buying an Android phone. I'm buying an iPhone, right? I'm an Apple person. Companies seem like they're going that way. They're either Salesforce shops or they're HubSpot shops. Those are the two. There doesn't seem to be another one. And they use a couple pieces of HubSpot, and then they weave all these other applications in the MPOL guys are talking about, or they do that with Salesforce. If it's a big, giant company with more money than they know what to do with and developers hanging around, by all means, they should buy Salesforce.com, because you can do anything with that platform. You can launch a satellite with that platform. If you're normal, you don't have tons of money and you don't have tons of developers, you should buy HubSpot. That's kind of how I think the world will play out over the next couple of years.
Great. This lady in the front here.
Hi, I'm Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
Firstly, if I could say that your diversity stats are amazing.
Thank you.
It's absolutely brilliant and so great to hear. But my question is, how do you keep close to your customer? So you talk a lot about the experience, transformational experiences, and customer sits right at the middle of the flywheel. So how do you keep close to the customer?
Yep, a couple things I do. I talk to them, which is one interesting one. About once a week, I have a customer call. So we have a giant customer service team, and about once a week they'll come in and I'll just sit in on a call and talk to a customer. Doesn't actually our biggest one, like a normal one I want to talk to. I sit in on support for an hour or two a month and just listen to the calls coming in and what customers are saying. They've said it, and what's amazing to me about HubSpot support is those people are unbelievable, because the questions come in of like, how do I set up Outlook to, can you change the color of the banner on my website to, can you connect this thing to Salesforce.com? Like, there's a million potential questions that come in. They do an unbelievable job of answering them. I'm just blown away by those people. And then we have a management team meeting once a month, and we have it tomorrow, and we call it the Customer First Management Team meeting. And all we do is talk about customers, and we invite customers in to present to us. So I'm actually not worried about my talking to customers. I'm worried about like the rest of the management team meeting. People tend to not want to talk to customers because customers complain. And you want those complaints. It's just uncomfortable, but you want them. That's how you make it better. And people just naturally avoid them. And at HubSpot, it's very easy to avoid them and just like look at the PowerPoint decks and look at the decks and the data, and you can kind of infer what's going on. But there's nothing like if I sit across from you on a Zoom and you're pissed about something and let me hear about it, that'll stick with me much more. And so I do it myself, and then we built it into our management team. So even like our CFO and our lawyers have to hear from customers once a month. That's worked really well for us.
Okay, so we're kind of coming up on the
One more back here.
witching moment. No, we've got time for a couple more. Yes, please. Just it was only to let you know that we have drinks.
Oh, we gotta go now.
We got for him, not anyone else. No, we got drinks for everybody through there and some canapes and stuff. So please do.
I'll make it quick. Hi, I'm Lisa, and really thrilled to be able to see you speak here, so thank you. My question is more around competition. So I know that now that you're a platform, you're much more than your early days, just a marketing platform. In my mind, and from tenders and whatnot over the years, HubSpot's been bracketed more towards SMEs and startups, and you've got Marketo, Eloqua kind of going up to the enterprise level. Has that changed, and and can you share some more about the larger clients you're working with to give us confidence that if we are working for larger organizations now, we should be thinking about replacing those systems with HubSpot?
It's been changing. I kind of think of HubSpot's, so I'll give you some, don't tweet this, but our median customers, about 20-something employees, has been since we started the company. And over the last year, what we're working on is how do we get better at touchlessly bringing startups in Not like, I don't think we're a good fit for, like, my sister's got a little gardening shop in Wayland, Massachusetts, just she and her friend. They don't want to grow it, it's just them. They should buy MailChimp, right? We want to get I want to be a huge company, get them early. And then we've worked on the upper end, on the corporate side. So we came out with our marketing enterprise, sales enterprise, service enterprise products. Those products are getting a tremendous amount of investment and are getting really, really good. Over the next 6 months, they're going to get a lot better. There's stuff underneath. The API development is getting really powerful. The custom objects is going to make those a lot more powerful. The attribution reporting stuff is going to make those very powerful. So I think what we're going to see is more and more large accounts coming in. There's been recently a couple of accounts spend $1 million on HubSpot that I was talking to one the other day. It's a company called Randstad. They're in the recruiting space, and they're doing great with it and scaling really well. I think the days, I'll tell you something funny about HubSpot. We used to have an internal joke that Marketo didn't have to do any marketing because all of the ex-HubSpot customers just went to Marketo. Like, they literally didn't have to market. It's like, oh, done with HubSpot. I don't see that happening as much at all, and I would imagine a year from now that will never happen. I'm tired of that. I'm sick and tired of it, quite frankly. We are seeing a lot of that. Marketo's complicated. I think Eloqua's that just hasn't evolved well. I mean, Marketo's a good product. I wouldn't recommend anyone buy Eloqua. But yeah, we're kind of moving up a little bit. We want to hold on to a customer if they buy us at 100 employees. At 2,000 employees, we want them using it. Some big companies in the United States and in Europe have been starting to buy and are really happy with it.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed
Thirsty.
that.
Oh.
I could probably, thirsty. Much as I would like the opportunity to carry on talking, we are all going to go through to the garden room. It's a very lovely room at the back here.
Okay.
Our other speakers, Darren and Guy, are going to come join us. Please take a chance to have a chat with them. And I know Brian's going to, he doesn't drink much at all, spills most of it. But Brian, it was a real pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Absolutely great.